Hello, all. Today I want to do something different. I know I always say that, but I really am going to do something different today. I've done, movie reviews, I've done video reviews, I have done book reviews on these videos, but I've never talked about my musical taste, and that's something that I thought I'd get into today. I don't know why, but whenever I do one of these like challenges on Rock Rage on Facebook, they say, take your photograph and somebody will guess what's your favorite band. Nobody ever even comes close. I don't know why, but for some reason, people think my favorite band is the Beatles or some guy guessed somebody I never heard of, Brian something or other. Well, it's not. And I'm going to tell you this, and I don't care if it shocks the hell out of you. My favorite band is the Sex Pistols. Yeah, four boys from England, but not those four boys. Johnny, Paul, Steve, Glenn, and occasionally Sid are my favorite band ever. But let me go back. The influence of rock on me began when I, would listen to the records that my sisters had because I didn't have my own record player. So I would have to play what they had. I didn't have money for my own records when I was a little kid. But the first couple albums I heard were, of course, the Beatles because that's what they listened to, and the Rolling Stones. But the third album that I heard was Black Sabbath, and I immediately loved it. I listened to Tony Iommi's guitar licks on the song Black Sabbath and Ozzy's singing. I said, "Yeah, that's what I like. I don't like this other stuff. I like this. This is heavy. I like this. It's dark." And I don't know. It just appealed to me in a way that the other stuff didn't. And that carried on from that point forward. I got into Alice Cooper and, the metal bands of the time, Ted Nugent, who I now hate, but that's a different story. I hate the man. I don't hate the music. But, I got into, that sort of stuff. And then you come to the 1970s, and I have to explain this because people who didn't live through the 1970s won't remember this. There was a whole period from about, I'd say, 1973, after Alice Cooper released Welcome to My Nightmare, and 1976, when we were inundated with the most boring, horrible crap that was masquerading as rock that you can imagine. Stuff like, Marvin Gaye and disco, the Bee Gees, the Saturday Bay City Rollers, just awful corporate garbage. And then you had the supergroups, Genesis and Supertramp and Yes, and again, ELP. And again, they were putting out, I liked some early ELP, but by the mid-70s, they were putting out garbage. And, Pink Floyd had done the same thing. Their earliest stuff had been interesting. I like, Uma Guma and Piper at the Gates of Dawn and some of the early stuff. I did not like, I liked, of course, Dark Side of the Moon, but after that, they started producing some garbage and continued to do so for quite a while. They kind of got back on track a little later. But the first time I heard about punk rock and the first time I heard the Sex Pistols was actually on a TV show that I saw in Haworth, New Jersey, about this quote-unquote awful band where, they spit on their, audience and vomited on their audience, and they had this horrible music. And I heard one of the tracks. They played Anarchy in the UK, and I don't know why. Something about that guitar lick just went like wham, hit me right in the chest. I said, that's it. That's what rock's missing. Not this freaking disco crap, not these, lame supergroups, not freaking Elton John with his constantly repetitive stuff. I wanted to hear something new, something exciting, something interesting, and punk rock was it. And I agree with the general assessment. The Pistols were punk. Everything else was punk rock. Derivative, really. I know there's arguments about, who started punk, and I'm not going to get into that. Was it Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground? Was it Iggy and the Stooges? Was it the Ramones? Those people were all instrumental, and I do agree with those assessments largely. But in the UK, in England, the Pistols started it all. And they formed in, actually, I think it was actually late 1974. They didn't start performing until 75. And then they were doing like gigs at colleges and things. And one of the bands they played with was Bazooka Joe. The lead singer of Bazooka Joe was Adam Ant of Adam and the Ants. And I liked them a lot too when they came out. But uh, Anarchy did something. Anarchy burst the bubble of this boring, garbage corporate bullshit that they were casting on us as rock and roll, which was not rock and roll. It was noise and it was awful. People say the same thing about, oh, they can't play. Their singing is bad. Again, that documentary got basically everything backwards. The Pistols didn't spit on their audience; it was the audience that spit at them, and threw beer cans and bottles and things at them at the stage. But again, that was just part of this kind of movement saying, "Hey, we're bored with all this old stuff. We want something new." And the Pistols were something new. Nobody had ever heard anything like them before. And of course, it spawned a flurry of other bands, many of whom I really like: the Clash, the Stranglers, the Damned, the UK Subs, Anti-Nowhere League, the Slits. Uh, I can go on and on. And it just started something that basically took rock and roll and kicked it in the ass, which is exactly what it needed at that time. And I have continued to like punk and metal since then. So no, if you're looking at one of these rock rage things that says, post your photo and we'll tell you who your favorite band is, you got mine wrong, and you're always going to get it wrong. What I look like has absolutely nothing to do with the kind of music I like. And I think trying to assess people, just because I don't have a freaking mullet or wear leather clothing doesn't mean I don't like metal. I do like metal. One of my favorite bands is Motorhead, and another one is a new band that I discovered a couple of years ago called Edge of Paradise. They basically went from who never heard of them to this is my favorite band in 3 songs, and I can tell you the songs: Hologram from the album Hologram, uh, The Unknown from their first album Universe, and Fire, which I think is just a real amazingly sexy, hot song. And I'm going to go see them in March this year, next year, 2025, along with Delane and Xandria, who are two of the other symphonic metal bands I like. I like symphonic metal. I like Imperial Age. I like Kalida. I like Nocturna, two gorgeous singers in Nocturna. Epica, again, a very beautiful singer, Simone Simons, gorgeous redhead. And Tarja, who again is extremely attractive and an amazing voice. Only Tarja could sing Christmas carols and make them sexy, and she does. But again, the things I like about both metal and about punk is that they're not complacent. It's not same old, same old. Let's just write a silly love song. They're about something, and I like that. Again, as an author and avid reader, I like more creative, interesting things like Veteran of the Psychic Wars by Blue Oyster Cult, which was written by Michael Moorcock, my favorite author, or the whole Hawkwind's Chronicle of the Black Sword, which is basically the Elric story, which again was written by Moorcock. He had some problems, unfortunately, with the licensing and a little bit of a fight with Dave Brock, the lead guitarist of Hawkwind at the time. About that, but just a really good album, which I recommend. Um, so again, I once wrote an essay called "Confessions of a Quiet Punk," and that's kind of me. I'm not loud. I don't go out and punch people in the face or anything. I don't wear a mohawk or punk was never about dyeing your freaking hair green or wearing a mohawk or wearing leather clothes that are ripped. It was about being an individual, and that's what appeals to me about it the most.